Hi everyone, this is Jim Tolles. I'm a spiritual teacher and I blog regularly at spiritualawakeningprocess.com. And today I want to spend a little bit of time talking about feeling alienated or different on your spiritual path. A lot of times people have this idea that as you continue to grow and mature on your spiritual path, that more people will like you and accept you. But this is not the case. And more often than not, as we grow and we change, we start to step away from old relationships. We let go of old behavior patterns that do not serve us. And that tends to create separation from a lot of different people. And it tends to put us into places of the unknown, places where we don't really understand yet how we do want to act. We've learned what we don't want to do, but we're not entirely sure what we do want to do. And that makes us feel like we're an outcast or that we're otherwise alienated and separate from the whole. Additionally, as you continue on your journey, the more you let go of things, the more you see how plenty of people on the spiritual path itself are very trapped in their ideologies and their beliefs, attempting to be somebody who's spiritual. And if you continue on past those types of barriers where you understand that you don't have to try to be a spiritual person, that you already are, that you step into places of more of that separation where you're more kind of alone from the tribe. And this is part of the journey towards connecting towards our wholeness in many regards, because that deep connection is always within us. But we create so many barriers to it, including a lot of barriers on the spiritual path. It's very common when somebody has an awakening that they suddenly feel kind of cut off from humanity, yet so deeply connected to everything. And it's this kind of irony, and paradox that people can feel that can be particularly confusing. The senses of alienation being different tend to come earlier in the path because that's where the ego is still the strongest. And we're still thinking that this is about being somebody and doing things and some sort of success, that we will achieve something. And for some people, it's a kind of spiritual warriorship, that we're conquering something. We don't really understand what's being conquered exactly and what this opening really means. And I think that fear of the unknown is kind of mixed into that sense of alienation because you're losing reference points. Reference points are simply ways that you understand that you're succeeding or you're not. That this is over here and I'm here, so I want to get there, right? This is my spiritual goal in this particular metaphor. There's a lot of types of reference points that we have, but as you realize just how fluid and alive life is, holding on to goals, trying to get somewhere, that doesn't make any sense anymore because it's not real. The here and now is always here and now, and the beauty of your own love is always here, and all the expanse of your truth is within you, so there's nowhere to go. And certainly parts of our spiritual journey are really helpful. It's helpful to get an outside reflection, in some respects. I'm kind of a mirror, so I reflect back some of the truth you already know. And as I say in many things that I've written and I've talked about here on this channel, that resonance comes from within. Anything that feels true that I say, when you feel that resonance inside, that's coming from within you. That's your own truth responding to me. And of course, things that resonate don't always feel good. Sometimes we have a lot of defense mechanisms in front of that and say that want to hold back and don't like that truth. But if there's that discomfort for somebody else speaking the truth and you have that arising discomfort, then you have to look to yourself and say, well, why am I resisting the truth? What is it that's inside me that doesn't want to engage with that reality? Because the spiritual path is about the real world. And I think there's a lot of confusion people have around what is real. So many times, especially early in the path, people say, well, how do I be a spiritual person and live in the real world? Well, being a spiritual person is inherently in the real world. What you're seeing, and part of why you may feel alienated as well, and different from other people, is they are living in a fantasy full of really nightmares around how you have to act, what you have to look like, how much money you need to make, how you should live your life, if you should have a romantic partner, if you had kids, and on and on and on. All these different things is part of this huge, massive illusion. So as you step outside that illusion initially, having that extra freedom actually can feel different and strange. And so in that strangeness, my encouragement is to breathe. Take your time. Relax a little and get used to what it's like to be outside some of the prison cell. And I won't say you're outside the prison, but you've stepped outside of one of the prison cells you've been trapped in. Take a few minutes there to get used to it. It's kind of an acclimation. It's like coming up for air is another way we can use this metaphor, where suddenly all this pressure is off and you're like, wow, I can take a deep breath again. But it can feel odd if you haven't been living and breathing that way. It makes you feel different. Certainly, there are plenty of people who are very psychic and have always felt very different because of what they can see that others cannot. That's slightly different than the topic of today, but it's something else to be mindful of in your own experience. And all I can say is simply accept it. If you can see spirits, or you can see auras, or you can have out-of-body experiences, right? And these things are just naturally present for you. Accept them and use them in integrity, right? They should be used from a place of kindness and love, not to gather information on other people or collect secrets or whatever silliness that people will do. And depending on someone's ego, they can do a lot of things that are not aligned to kindness. Becoming more and more aware of yourself, letting go of issues, is the greatest kindness you can offer to yourself. And the more you go within, the more you feel connected to yourself. And in connecting to yourself, you're connecting to all of life. But as I said, it can create this interesting paradox where you're deeply connected to what's real, and you're going to notice that many people aren't connected to what's real. And that also creates that sense of difference, of alienation. And maybe for those of you, as you drop even deeper, you can feel the deeper connection under all of that, that even that illusion is still part of the real world and that amazing paradox that life is. At which point, you're probably not feeling so alienated anymore. At which point, the difference doesn't matter. It's just part of the spectrum of life. Sitting at the core of things like this is often this need for validation, need for safety in community. But when you come home to what's inside you and to that love, that expansiveness of connection to the divine, suddenly those needs for safety and validation go away. The feeling of being alienated or different goes away. And even if it comes back again, it no longer troubles you because you've already come home. You're already connected to the whole. And in that expansiveness of love, what more is there really to ask for? These are some of my thoughts today. I have a blog about this topic too if you want to read a little bit more. Go. I'm feeling alienated after awakening. And you can find that at spiritualawakeningprocess.com. Once again, my name is Jim Tolles. Have a beautiful day.